Alright, so we'll start this lesson with having an image or text that wraps around a shape, and we can then animate the the text, and it can go around like so. Okay, we can just animate, let's say, the x-axis, and then of course you can loop this, and it keeps doing it, kind of like this one. Let's go to our animation tab real quick, just to show you a quick example. Alright, so I'm using my, let me turn on screencast real quick. Now I'll explain the whole thing. Let's just kind of show it here. Alright, so when I drag that, kind of it goes around. So you can have this as whatever kind of shape you want. So on frame 1, I will just simply animate that single keyframe, and let's say 50 frames, went all the way around. I mean, you can be precise there and land it where it actually kind of loops, but it's for demoing purpose. Okay, so if we play this, okay, and then we can switch this to the graph editor real quick. And we can just give it a modifier. Let's go to the location X right there. Just give it a cycles one, and just kind of repeats. All right. So you can basically just keep it kind of going. And if you want multiple of these, so let's say, let me go back to my dope sheet right here so I can see the keyframe. Okay, I can select just 2 objects right here. Let's say I duplicate it like so. Then you can select the keyframes for this. Press G and then just kind of offset it so that they don't all kind of rotate at the same time, or at the same time, depending on how you want it set up. You can kind of offset that so they all kind of play. So if we have multiples of these, I mean, just for the sake of, oops. Alright, so you can get them all kind of like in motion graphics. Kind of get them all going, of course. Do a better job than I did with making them rotate at that particular spot so it kind of repeats itself. Alright, so let's get started on this one. Okay. Okay, so first things first is we can either use the Blender text for this one. Okay, you can actually, because I think the previous example is it just says this and then rolls. Okay, depending, and you're gonna have to work your magic on matching this with alignment, spacing, kerning, all that stuff. Okay, so basically you can make this part right here. Oops. You can make this part right here just kind of, a different text, or you can make it kind of combined. You can shrink that, or you can go to Photoshop, do your text there, whichever you're comfortable with. Because with this one, we can definitely just use just the Blender text. It has alpha channel already because it's an object, right? And we can, let's say, put this on a curve, right? So we can go with a curve. I'm going to go with a circle right here. You can use anything. So I'm going to go with, let me just center that to the world because I did move my cursor. And then let me change my 3D cursor back to the center of the world. Okay? And I'm gonna turn on screencast, and we're gonna make this one stand up, so that'll be RY90. Okay, so it's going this way. Then we can move this text on to follow that. So you can make, and this doesn't have to be a circle because I can, let's say, subdivided this. Right click, subdivide. Select this top and bottom, delete them. Okay, kind of looks like this kind of weird looking oblique object. Then I can change by pressing V, it's a victory. And let's say vector with flat and stat. I can take those 6 right there, S, Y, to kind of span them like so. Okay, and let's say looking at this, and I can go here. I guess I can just kind of just eyeball this for now. Just kind of make it quick, so that it doesn't have kind of like that crown molding look. Okay, and you can be precise here. You can actually snap those points into position. All right, so we just made it kind of look like a rectangular belt. Okay, so I'm going to select this text right here, and I'm going to add a modifier to it called curve. And it's going to ask, hey, which curve do you want to use? I can put the eyedropper and select it. I can also click this one, and since that's the only Bezier we have, there we go. So now that it's there, it's not going to follow how we want it. So we're going to go with our deform. It's going to be Z, but let's see what Y does. Y does this kind of weird. It's kind of cool though, because if you decided to move this thing, all right, just kind of follows it like that. So you can't roll on that. This doesn't roll anymore, more like it spins. Okay, that's on Y. Let's go with Z. Z is what we want because this is the one that gives it that this rolls. Okay, and if you want to flip this over because it's the opposite, you can go to its item right here, and we're going to have to flip it. Is it a Y-axis? Yes, it's a Y-axis. So you just have to give it a 180 degree. It flips it over, and when I grab, I'm using my transform tool the exact way easy. So I'm grabbing my X-axis. This one now rolls. Okay. So if I animate this one, you can move it over here to kind of position it right here. So I'm going to go to my, I have my timeline right here. Let's say I'm going to change it to 240, so that's exactly 10 seconds, okay? Or, yeah, 240. And I can start right here, X, right-click it, insert single keyframe. X would be that red arrow. And let's say I go with, let's say it takes 2 seconds for it to do a complete rotation, okay? So if I'm looking at this from the top viewport right here, let's have a kind of marker. I don't want to go too technical on this one. The T is right there, so I can go over there, and then, okay, is it like it? I don't remember, but let's see. Oh yeah, since I move it back, so that's on 1. I'm looking for kind of like a, so this quadrant right here, 1 quadrant, so that's the edge of the T, okay? So I'm gonna go 48. Just being lazy here, folks, so you can definitely figure this out more precise. There we go, okay? And I'm gonna go single keyframe. Let's take a look, okay? Then what I can do is loop this, and go to my, change my view here to a graph editor. Move this up a little bit. And while the X-axis is selected, I'm going to press N, as in Nancy or numbers. Go to Modifier, add a cycles one, and it'll just do that for the 240 frames, okay? Since we did it on 48, and it'll be, whatever length you want. Okay, so there it is. If I go to my camera viewport right here, it's kind of like on a conveyor belt. Okay, I did on 48, so if you did in 24, then it'll be divisible to 10, but it's totally up to you how you want to get that set up. You can change your timing on the end to match it. So there it is. So if you want multiples of this, you can simply copy and paste that, okay? So let's try and just copy, let's say, just the text. I'm going to go Shift-D, and then X, so that it just, so it's still moving it right here just by itself, okay? And it's still going to be part of that animation. So is it still married to this? Yes, it is, because it's exactly right there. So let's going to click undo on that one, okay? I'm going to select both, duplicate both. Once we duplicated both, we can then move it as its own thing. And when we play, they're a little offset right there because of the placement. You can make them start the same way because you simply have to go here and set up the graph editor, go to the dope sheet, and you should see the keyframe for it. So those are the keyframes. If you select those and press G as in grabbing, then you can at the beginning, so let's say on frame 1, where do you want it to start? You want it to start exactly like that, you can, or you can offset it, you can make it start over there. So you kind of have like this weird alternating thing, okay? So if I go click those things, and then I'm getting it to the top, and then let's say I grab it here, okay, and then select this both, and go Shift-D, X, and just selecting all of those, Shift-D, X axis. Alright, so now I got the rolls of these things. There it is. And this is us using Blender text, okay? Because with text, then you have to go to the font and find the font that you want. Alright? Or let's say you know how to use image editing program like Photoshop, then you can make your text and make it in with an alpha channel with transparency. So let's, I'm going to save my cylinder here. So